everybody, welcome back to our Liberty House. My name's Beth, and today I'm going to be doing our December garden tour and showing you what we have growing this time of year. We're in Zone 9B, which is Sacramento, California for us, and the winter time, the fall and winter really is such a magical time. It's like a reprieve after all of the rush and excitement of the summer garden, and it's just a lot slower pace. So I'm going to take you on a slow garden tour. I actually woke up a little early. It's a Saturday morning. It's pretty cold. I don't know if you can see my breath. And we're getting down. Our temps right now at night are hitting just about the frost line. We've had a few hitting 32 degrees, 35 degrees is pretty common right now. Our highs during the day are still getting up into like the 50s and 60s, but we're getting a lot more rainy days. Like you can see, today is very rainy, and I think all weekend here is going to be full of rain, which is great. So I'm going to take you through. I think it's sprinkling a little bit, so let's get going and I'll show you what we have growing in December. So this month's video is in collaboration with High C Boots. They're the boots I'm wearing right now, and so far they're amazing. I picked them up last month, and they're 100% waterproof. They're great for gardening this time of year when it's raining out. They have a lot of different styles. I picked up this style here that has the plants on it, of course. And what I love is that they have a little bungee to tighten the top of your boots. So that way you can prevent like leaves or dirt or water from getting down into your socks, which is pretty great. I have them just tucked in to my sweatpants this morning because it's comfortable, but these boots have a lifetime warranty, which is pretty great, and they're super affordable. And in collaboration with High C, they're offering you guys a promo code for 15% off boots if you guys are interested in trying them out. I highly recommend, and I will link all of that in the description below, so go make sure, click that link and check them out and tell me what you guys think if you pick them up. Okay guys, so I always like to start over here on this side and move my way through our raised garden beds over to the other side of our yard. You can see this first bed has, it's very unassuming. We have onions here planted in the front. So we have a few different types of onions, some red onions and some yellow onions. The exact varieties I honestly don't remember right offhand. I'm sure I have them written down, but literally I just wrote down red onion. So sorry about that. I can't tell you what it is. Over here we planted some garlic, and I'm actually completely shocked that only one of them popped up. So I have no idea what is going on here. We planted them probably like 4 to 6 weeks ago, so they should be up, and I have garlic in another spot that is up, so I'll show you guys that. So I'm not sure if that's not coming up or if it's just really slow, but I guess we'll wait and see. It'd be super disappointing if nothing came up from that. Back here on the back side of our trellis, we planted some peas, which you can see are starting to get up here, reaching the top part of the trellis. This was like one of our first trellises that Lucas built. We have a tutorial on our site on how to build one of these, but to get it closer, we added these strings in, and we should have just cut it a little bit further down, which we did on our back trellis, but it actually works out pretty well. We just tie them up until they reach the top here. You can see I have some of these giant zinnias still in, but they're totally at the end of their life, but it's still adding such nice color. I've kept them in. And you can see here all of the jalapenos still hanging in. These probably should get picked, I'm thinking, pretty soon, just because we're getting down into those near freezing lows, so I don't want the fruit itself to be damaged, so we really should. But if you're like me this time of year, you're kind of just very lackadaisical, if that's even a word, and just slow to get some of this picked. But pretty wild that this jalapeno plant, if you guys followed our summer garden, we had some tall plants in here, so it was just reaching, and it's kind of created this really cool bounty here at the top, and thankfully our trellis was able to hold it up there. moving on over, we have 6 broccoli plants planted right in here. I love brassicas during the rain because it just is very pretty. And if you guys live in a dry climate like Northern California, you know the rain is so precious to us. So it's just really fun, and I appreciate the rain so much. So it's really fun to see on here. So yeah, we have 6 broccolis. They're just slow to grow because there's less sun this time of year, so everything's a little bit slower. But that's okay. And then over on this side, let me zoom out a little bit. You can see we still have a few pepper plants in over here as well. So we have some Thai chilies. You can see we've kind of been just harvesting, them in batches as they get ripe into red. We have some serranos in here. Lucas just made a batch of hot sauce, which is really good. And then over here, that's part of the serrano, but this was a Scotch bonnet, which honestly has some flowers in it, which is kind of interesting. I know peppers can overwinter here, and we tried it one year when we first moved, but they just tend to not produce as much the next year. Since we have such limited space, we tend to just rip them out at the end of the year. Here's a couple Scotch bonnets, not quite ripe just yet. So we'll see, kind of an experiment to see how they survive. But we should, especially those jalapenos, get those picked just so they don't get too damaged with the near freezing temperatures. Here's another one of those giant zinnias, just a lot of color. It's really pretty this time of year. You can see we have these gutters we attach to our cattle panel arch trellis here. A lot of people have asked me about this, and honestly I don't think I would do this again, just because the growing space inside of these is so small. It's hard to keep them moist enough during like the heat of the year, so things it's a struggle to keep things alive. Somehow these strawberries have stayed alive. You can see they're trying to produce again, which is kind of cool, but there's not a lot produced, so I don't know if it's totally worth it. But we just picked up these gutters from the hardware store and then tied in some of our drip line to it, so every time it waters on the drip line too, and it tends to overflow just because it's so small, but that overflow just hits the bottom here. You can kind of see at this end, we had tried to plant some lettuces back here, and it was just not the year for lettuces for us so far. I keep saying I want to replant some, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But this one here, you can see, is starting to go to flower, which is kind of cool. And then over here you can see I planted some flowers. It looks like got hit with the frost. It didn't fare too well, probably just because there's really no protection right here. The other pollinator island did much better. I think maybe it just is a little bit more protected. And it could be the variety of flower too. I tend to just experiment with a lot of my flower seeds to see when they stick around here. This is a lantana right here that's loving this cooler weather. And on the topic of flowers, this is floss flower. It's actually a perennial. I've had it in here for a couple seasons now. And this is our last bean. I'm actually shocked that it hasn't died off yet, because it is frost, not frost tolerant. But I'm just kind of letting it go and seeing what happens with that. We had a few more beans on here that you guys have seen over the last couple months that we've ripped out because they got torched by the frost. So, and then a few more flowers. Here's our mum that we've had. I just cut it back because it got hit with frost just a little bit and was just kind of dying off. So I cut it back. And over here I had that big old celosia you guys have seen. I cut that back. We still have some drumstick flower. I don't know if anything's going to come of this. It's been in literally since the spring, so I have no idea how long that's going to take. And then I planted some other seeds here. I honestly don't remember what they are. So we'll see what happens with that. And then over here in this bed, we have 4 cauliflower plants that are looking pretty good, just growing along. Kind of waiting to see that crown shape form here in the center. Over here we have some radishes. So it looks like that one's kind of wild. Definitely ready to get harvested. We'll probably harvest them this weekend or next week. And then some bok choy as well. You can see something's kind of been munching on it a little bit, but that's okay. Definitely ready for some soups and stir fry with the bok choy. And we had some lettuces here as well. Looks like this one's trying to survive, but they were really just trying to bolt. I think I planted my lettuces just a little bit too early in the kind of transition from summer to fall. So they kind of wanted to bolt with some of the heat during the day, and then it just didn't get cool enough. So I think right now if I were to reseed some of those, they would do a lot better. I just haven't gotten to it. All right, over here in this bed is our other garlic bed. It's doing a lot better than that other one. It's a different variety. It's Laura's Italian. These have all come up really nicely. And garlic, if you plant garlic, it's just, you're in for the long game. You wait until, I think that's a straw seedling there. You're in for the long game. We're not gonna really do much with this for another few months. So we just kind of let it grow. Our another little spot of some plants. We have lavender here that's just doing its thing. Our fig tree has dropped all of its leaves, which is normal this time of year. And then moving on to our tree boxes here, we have potatoes. You guys have seen these potatoes. Unfortunately, the frost got to them. You can see they kind of just shrivel up. It's almost like a freezer burnt kind of look. So that's really disappointing. We're gonna kind of just leave it be, and perhaps those potato seeds in the soil will regrow once the weather warms up a little bit more and that danger of frost. So I think we're just a little bit too late on the potatoes. Guys, remember we have 2 boxes of kale. We are not eating enough kale for how much kale we have planted. This big mama, look how big this is. Let me just zoom out so you can really see. I just love them because it looks like little trees. But yeah, really fun kale we have here and right here. These ones are much smaller. Right here I planted Romanesco. I had to think about it. Because is there a tag here? Probably not. But yeah, Romanesco, another Brassica. It's kind of pretty. It has a little bit of like purple tinting on some of these leaves, which is really cool. Never truly, oh, there's a tag in there. Never truly eaten Romanesco. I've seen other people grow it and it looks super cool. It has this like interesting green cone shape. So it looks a lot like a, let's see if I can refocus here. It looks a lot like a cauliflower in a sense, or similar texture, but totally green and totally unique. It looks kind of funky in all the right ways. We've harvested our Jerusalem artichokes that you saw were everywhere. We've cooked up a few. We ended up just discarding a lot of them. I'm hoping we got all of the remnants from here because we, I think, are done with the Jerusalem artichokes. We just didn't eat them enough, nor care for them, I guess, to really warrant it. So we'll plant something else there later. And then as we move back here, the rain's really starting to come down. You can see we have some strawberries here. So I actually cut from that other spot I had strawberries. They had a whole bunch of runners. So I transplanted a lot of the larger runners into this box here and this box right over here. And I'm really confident that they're going to do well. So I think once the weather warms up a little bit, we'll probably get some strawberries this spring. And then our blueberries are just show-stopping right now with their foliage and this like burnt orange, yellow beautifulness. So I'm just going to give them a moment to shine. They're really pretty this time of year. Okay, so we have Napa Cabbage back here. This is definitely like our best looking crop this fall so far. They just have a nice like tight head. They've been really delicious. It's a ton of food for just Lucas and I. So we usually like half of one is like great for one meal. And we cooked them up. And what's great about Napa Cabbage is it's delicious like raw. So since we haven't really gotten much lettuce this fall yet, I've been eating this as kind of a lettuce, and it's quite tasty. And then you can also cook it or saute it. And that's really, really good too. You can see we had garlic in this bed last year, and it is, apparently we didn't get quite all of it, so we've seen a few different garlics pop up, and we're just letting them go, so maybe we'll get a couple extra hanging out in here. I've got 2 more cauliflowers right here. And you can see these are the beans, so that same bean on my arch trellis are right here. And I was just a little bit too late. I will time beans appropriately sometime soon. But yeah, but the frost got to it. And this is kind of what that looks like, that frost damage. So just haven't pulled it yet, but we'll see. It's a shame. It was just starting to flower, so maybe I'll get it this spring. Moving on, we have celery planted back here too, and I wasn't sure if this celery was going to survive or not, but it's definitely living its best life in this little corner. We have 6 celery plants right here, and it's looking really, really good. Back here, you can see some peas peeking up on this trellis right there, and then I have some flowers kind of tucked in here too. So yeah, this is some clary sage, and then there's a rudbeckia back here that's just left over from the summer, and it's a perennial, so I'm just going to leave it be. And you can see this U-shaped bed is definitely heavy on the left for our fall garden, and that's because of the sun. When we planned our garden, we probably could have planned it a little bit better in thinking about the sun, because the sun sits much lower and it's shaded by this fence this time of year. So everything on this side gets a lot of shade, so it's a little bit more tricky to grow, and anything planted over here is much, much slower to grow. So I'll probably maybe plant some lettuces over here eventually, but we're just kind of letting this rest. I topped it with some compost, and we're letting it be. You can see there's a few flowers in here I planted too that are doing all right, and then some peas that honestly are a little tangled and mangled, but we'll maybe fix those sooner than later. And then we have some carrots, and honestly I'm disappointed in how our carrots are doing, but we're just seeing what happens, I guess, with these. I feel like the seed packet always says like 80 days or whatever on carrots, and for us it's always like double that. I don't know if anyone else seems to struggle with just slow growing carrots, or if that's just us, but kind of interesting. And I have to say, even in the rain, these boots are really holding up nicely. I'm liking them. Okay, let me show you a few more things. We have over on kind of in our more of our grassy space, which we keep talking, maybe we will rip out some of our lawn sooner than later and add in more raised beds. But we've also talked about moving potentially in the next 5 years. It's not like anytime soon, but it's kind of just that struggle of, do you expand or do you wait? So we'll see. But let me show you our roses. So we have roses all along this back side of our house near our patio, and this is south facing, so it gets great sun exposure. And definitely with the rain and the cooler, our roses aren't quite opening as beautifully as they once were not too long ago. And definitely a lot more of the yellowing leaves in here, but you guys seen, you open it up at the base this time of year, and come January we're gonna whack it all back, including this climbing rose and our second hybrid tea rose over there as well. We have a couple artichokes, which are in their prime growing season. We planted one right here, and then just because of symmetry, I guess, we planted another one right here. And this one's a lot bigger which is kind of interesting. We struggled with slugs over the summer, and I think this one got hit a little bit harder than this one with the slugs, but definitely looking good. This should be it's really our second season with these artichokes, but last season we didn't harvest any, we just let them go to flower, and we should be getting some artichokes in the spring, which will be very exciting. Here's that second row, as you can see, especially with the rain, it's just leaning heavy. So definitely a lot more of those yellowing leaves, which is totally normal. I'm not fighting it too much anymore. Over the summer, I will definitely kind of cut out as much of the yellowing as much as possible to prevent disease, but this time of year, it's just part of the process. Here's our last bed. It has a passion fruit vine on it, which is kind of wild right now. We have a few passion fruits right back here. These are kind of slow to harvest too. I don't know if you can see them, or they're slow to mature, I should say. But yeah, looking good. So we should get some passion fruits. And then it's planted right here is the base of it, right back in there. So it's just kind of huge and wild. But here's our last raised bed. We planted a few more brassicas over here a little bit later than the ones we planted in our main beds, but these ones they seem even more slower to grow, but that's okay. We're patient in the fall and winter. So we have Brussels sprouts right here. We have 6 Brussels sprout plants and 6 cheddar cauliflowers. These were all 12 of these were total impulse buys at the nursery. I have some calendula back here that reseeded itself, which is fine. And then a few more peppers we had left in as well. These are like a picnic pepper. So I'm not sure how they're gonna fare with ripening, but we'll see. Okay, last but not least, let me give you a quick update on our trees. It's always how I end my tour. But we have Alfonso, our avocado tree. The theme with Alfonso is no avocados yet, but maybe one day. Definitely showing some signs of maybe some fruit or flower development, but we've seen that before and nothing's come of it. So we're just patient with this guy. It's total impulse and experiment, but it's been kind of fun. And finally, we have Leonardo, our avocado, right here. Full harvest time with these limes. What's great about this lime tree is it's a bear's lime. I had to think about that. And the bear's lime is a little bit sweeter than your typical lime, so it almost it doesn't seem like so tart. We've made a few things with some of these. Definitely need to go through now that they're starting to turn yellow. They're still totally fine. Yellow, they end up just being a little bit sweeter as they age a little bit longer or ripen a little bit longer. But yeah, we'll do some fun things with this, some like key lime pie and margaritas, of course, and maybe some ceviche. So definitely fun stuff with a lime tree. Well, that's pretty much it for our December garden tour. Just kind of in this holding and waiting period for things to ripen and harvesting. We're really just harvesting like Napa Cabbage right now, some Bok Choy, those radishes. But outside of that, I love this time of year because it's just slow pace. I don't have to worry about things in the garden. Nature's providing our rain right now, and we are just enjoying the slow pace. So I hope you guys are too. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram if you're not already, and I can't wait to connect with you guys in the comments if you have any questions. See you guys next month.